Happy Sabbath. Happy day. Let's open with a word of prayer. Dear God, we thank you for this morning. We thank you for you walked with us throughout the entire week up to this morning. We are now entering another session. We ask that you be our teacher. You teach us truth. Shower us with your blessings. Give us the ability to understand what we are going to discuss. This is my humble prayer in Jesus' name. So there's many things that are happening around the world, more especially when we look at the USA. So there's many things that are happening if you are watching the news, showing us maybe where we are in the line. So last time when I stood before you, I was doing Daniel 11, verse 41, 40 and 41. So I want to continue from there, but I will look at it from a different angle. So we have our line. This is the Sunday law, which we marked verse 41. So when we talk about Sunday law, verse 41 says, the king of the north entering the glorious land. So the waymark is dealing with the king of the north, dealing with internal affairs. So I want to borrow a statement from the recent studies that Paminda did. For those who have watched, the study about Isaiah 46 and the model of Isaiah 46, using Isaiah 46 to understand the last day events. And this is what we did. So when it comes to the last day events, we know one of them is this, all the history, because we are the one who is living in the history of the end of the world. So this is the structure which we drew, that when we talk about prophecy, our foundational source of prophecy is from the books of Daniel and Revelation. So this is where, if we want to understand what's happening at the end of the world, our primary source is Daniel and Revelation. And you can prove that through the events or the studies that we are doing. And specifically talking about the Sunday law, another source that we can add in Daniel and Revelation, also we can add the spirit of prophecy. We can mark Ellen G. White here, because even Ellen White will talk about this waymark of the Sunday law in her dispensation. And also another person talks about the Sunday law is our first angel's message, which is Elder Chef. At the time of the end, Elder Chef will recognize that we are living at the time of the end, and the next waymark that is coming is the Sunday law. So all of this are teaching us about this waymark we are calling the Sunday law, trying to understand it. Using the Isaiah model, I know maybe we are so far for now we are familiar with Isaiah 46, what it says. Isaiah 46 verse 10. It says that God is going to declare the end from the beginning. So this is our beginning. So this is the end or the future. And Isaiah is standing somewhere which is present. So going to this, one of the things that we understood from South Africa camp meeting is this waymark, which is the end, this is the beginning, that is declaring the end, is too far from the end itself. So that's one of the properties of this, this waymark. It is very far from the end that it cannot give us the clear information about what's happening here. So this too far to explain the exactness of what's happening here. So I think that's why we need this waymark here, the present. So this is the past, this is the present, this is the future. So, and we have marked where we go to understand the future is these books, primarily Daniel and Revelation, also Aaron White and Elder Chef. So I did a shortcut. I didn't want to go direct into their dispensations. I just want to make a point. So when you are standing here, one of the things also we established is the relationship between this waymark and this one. It is that it is so close to the future that it gives it predicts the future. And I want to add another person that speaks about the event of the Sunday law. That is Elder Tess. So Elder Tess, where do you think I will put Elder Tess? Here? You can give the chorus answers. So this is too far to explain the future. That's the Sunday law, the nature of the Sunday law and how it's going to look like. So Elder Chef, yes, it is in our dispensation, explained what is the Sunday law, but we can see that Elder Chef had didn't have a clear visibility of how the Sunday law will look like. So we had another messenger, the second angel, which is Elder Tess. Did Elder Tess got correct this waymark? Yes? So where should I put Elder Tess? Too far to explain the future or the present? What does people think? God? Present. So I hope we agree with that one. So I have Elder Tess. Is he in the future close to this waymark that can predict what this waymark is? And the reason why I went through this study is when we were 2020, 2021, we understood that this waymark, it is where we have the great test. So two things that we marked in this waymark, the great test and also another thing that we marked is the fall of democracy. Or if you don't like the word fall, you can write backslide of democracy. And it is this second aspect I want us to discuss, the backslide of democracy. So when we are talking about democracy, we can agree that democracy is a subject of the Sunday law. It goes here in the waymark of the Sunday law. Up to that, do we have any questions, comments? We are okay up to that point. So I want us to talk about democracy. So when we talk about democracy, what comes into our mind? Effie? Yeah, if that is what, when someone says democracy comes into your mind, it's okay. It's a government where power is centered on the people. Yeah, that's what I can get from what F is saying. Anything else, Jeff? Okay, so one thing, so which is connected to what Evia said. So Jeff is saying is elections, because this is how people are going to choose the representatives who are going to work with the law to protect their rights, all the liberties. Anything else? Rispa? So it is the government that protects the people, both the minority and the entire people, yeah? Okay, so we can say that democracy is not uh, is not all about election. It's more than election. I think what also Rispa is saying, that this is the government which is there or put in place to protect the rights of the people. That's why that government is there. Primarily, that's the work of the government. So I want us to read a verse from, we can turn to the books of Revelation. The belief is connected to what we are going to talk about, democracy. So we are going to read Revelation 17, read verses 8 to 10. Someone can read for us? Yes.
The beast that thou sawest was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The seven heads are seven mountains, which the woman said, and there are seven kings, five are fallen, and one and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space.
Thank you, Kodo. So from those verses, the verses are speaking about the beast and the heads. We have the verses, verse 8 speaks of the beast, verse 10 speaks of the heads. So we've been told the beast that John saw in verse 3 was there, is not, is going to ascend, shall ascend. Talking about the heads, we have 7 heads, which are 7 mountains, and these are 7 kings. 5 are foreign, 1 is, and is yet to come. So we can argue the relationship between the heads and the beast. As we see, when the 5, the beast was, we have 5 which are foreign. The beast is not, there is 1 head that is there. And you have that beast which was not is going to ascend when the 7th head is. So when the 7th head is coming, it is the resurrection of the beast. The reason why I went through this structure, I want to argue that there is, to bring the point I have in mind, when we look at the divination of a beast and the divination of a head, is going to help to put the point I have in the mind. So recently we've defined the beast as what? A political institution with power that has adopted the ideology of the woman. And we have defined the head. The difference between the head and the beast is because the head, when the head is alive, the beast is not. So we need to find what is the difference between the head and the beast. And we've defined the head as the political institution with power, and that's all. So the only difference between the head and the beast is the beast is a combination of the head and the woman. So the head, the beast, is a manifestation of a head in a given dispensation. The difference between the beast and the head is because the head, the beast has a woman element on it, is adopted the ideology of the woman. So that is to say, in these five, this ideology, there is an ideology which is in the five that is not in the six, that will come in the seven. And that's what I wanted us to see, that there is an ideology that you can find in the previous five, the first five kingdom, that you can't find in the sixth kingdom, that you will find in the seventh kingdom. So I don't want to go to specifics of that ideology. So I hope we see that from that basic structure, that there is an ideology that is existing in the first five, that is not in the sixth, that will be in the seventh, wherever time the seventh will come. So I want to, yes.
Why are we saying there's an ideology in the first five, like in all the five, and not that is in the fifth?
I used, I'll give my thoughts, but also someone can give their thoughts from the class. So Joy is asking, why am I saying there is an ideology that you can find in the first five that you can't find in the six, you'll find it here. So why? I started by defining these heads and beasts. So this structure can show you clearly that when the beast is not, let me say maybe here, the beast is alive. The beast is death, is dead, is alive. So one of the things I can see from the structure is here when you reach to the sixth, this will be the sixth by the virtue of 5, 6, then 7. 6, 7. So when the beast is not, we just have only a head. Yeah? You come to the 7, we don't have just a head. We have a head and the beast. So why I'm saying there is an ideology that is here, that is not found here, is based on this divination of what is the beast is. The beast is a political institution that has adopted the ideology of the woman. So it means this specific woman that John saw in the book of Revelation, verse 3, is not here. The element of the woman, the specific woman, is not here, does not exist here. So I think I used the definition of a beast to come up with the specific ideologies or the ideologies that are existing here that I can't see here, that I will see here.
My question is not whether the ideologies they are not in the sixth and they come again in the seventh. The question is, like when we say the beast was, why are we saying this ideology was in all of the five and not saying that this ideology was in the fifth? Because the beast that was, here, I thought it's the fifth, the beast that John is seeing. I thought it's the
Specific beast.
it's specific in the fifth.
5.
All of the five and not just one, that is the fifth.
Okay, so I guess then I will. So the question is, why not specify that the ideology is specific on the fifth and not the fourth, third one? Yeah. So
Problem lies in only the ideology
or okay.
relatively in the five.
Can I take that as a Q&A question? Or you will be roasted through the study? Okay. If you can write that question, because I think if I just open the discussion, maybe I won't move. So I was saying there is an ideology that is found here, that is not here, that you will find it here. So I want to also give another verse that is speaking of the same. Revelation 13, verse 11. We can read 10, 11, and someone can read from the class.
And then began another beast coming up out of the earth, and he found two horns like a lamb, and he spoke with a loud voice.
12.
And he exercised all the power of the first beast from heaven, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, and step within the sea.
Thank you. So we understand Revelation 13 speaking about the two beasts. We have the beast from the sea. I think Kali was covering last week those structures. We have the beast from the sea, and we have the beast from the earth or the land. So I'll say that it will follow also this structure. We have the fifth beast, that is the sea beast. And also we have the earth beast. As Penta read that when you come to the earth beast, it's going to come in two phases. The lamb, and this lamb will become the dragon. Will speak as the dragon. So I want us to compare the earth beast and the sea beast, more especially this lamb and the sea beast. So there is this transitioning point. You have the sea beast and the lamb beast. This point is a transitioning point. And also you can mark this one as transitioning point. So verse 10 of Revelation 13 says that he that readeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that kills with the sword shall be killed by the sword. Then it introduced verse 11, where we see the lamb-like beast that is coming out of the earth. So I want us to compare this one, how this government looked like, and this government to understand this one. But my point will be focusing on this and this one. So this transitioning point is 1798, where we have this sea beast coming down and the earth beast coming up. And I want us to read a quote where we can analyze some few points from that quote. Great controversy for that 9 paragraph 3. 440, and 441. Great controversy, 439, paragraph 3. Yes. Yes, read.
At this point, another symbol is introduced, says the prophet. I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb. Both the appearance of this beast and the manner of its arise indicate that the nation which it represents is unlike those presented under the preceding symbols.
You can leave it there. You can leave it there. Because the point I wanted us to see is from those first sentences that this beast that is coming out of the earth is contrasted with the sea beast. And we see the manner in which this beast is going to come to power or rise is different from the sea beast. Go to 440, paragraph 1.
But the beast with long like horns was seen coming up out of the earth. Instead of overthrowing other powers to establish itself, the nation thus represented must arise in territory previously unoccupied and grow up gradually in the peaceful. It could not then arise among the crowded and struggling nationalities of the old world, but turbulent sea of peoples and multitude of nations and tongues. Philosophy sought to the
Read the paragraph that follows, two sentences.
what nation of the New World was 1798 rising into power, giving promise of strength and greatness, and attracting the attention of the world? The application of the symbol admits of no question.
Finish.
Um, one nation, one nation and only one meets the specifications of this prophecy. It points unmistakably to the United States of America.
Thank you. So from the 440 paragraph 1 and 440 paragraph 2, it marks the geography. This is the old world. Europe, and this is the new world, United States, or the Western Hemisphere. 441, someone else can read 441, paragraph 1 and 2. Anyone?
And he had two horns like a lamb. The lamb-like horns indicate youth, innocence, and gentleness. It represents the character of the United States when presenting the prophet as coming up in 1798. Another Christian reference, who first fled to America and sought an asylum from royal occupation and peaceful intolerance were many who returned to establish a government upon the broad foundation of civil and religious liberty. Their views found place in the Declaration of Independence, which set forth the great truth that all men are created equal and is Lord with the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the Constitution guarantees to the people the right of self-government, providing that representatives elected by the popular vote shall enact and administer the laws. Freedom of religious faith was also granted, every man being permitted to worship God according to the details of his conscience. Republicanism and Protestantism became the foundation of principles of the nation. These principles are the secret of its power and prosperity. The oppressed and downtrodden throughout Christendom have come to this land with interest and hope. Millions have sought its shores, and the United States has risen to a place among the most powerful nations of the earth. But the beast in the lamb-like horn spake as a dragon, and exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein worship the first beast whose deadly name was hail, saying to them, that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast which had been ruled by the sword and be beheaded.
Thank you. So from the paragraph 441, paragraph 1, it's going to describe the lamb-like from 1798 and the principles that are keeping this government or this nation. And we've been given we have inalienable rights which people are endowed to: life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And these three things you cannot take away from the people. And for this thing to be protected, you need what? You need the government has to ensure this life, liberty, and happiness is being exercised by people. And to ensure that, the Constitution was introduced. So we have republicanism and Protestantism became the fundamental principle of the nation. And these were secret of what? The power of the sixth. So we have two principles of this kingdom: republicanism and Protestantism. These are the two principles that this government that was rising 1798 was holding, and this is the secret of the successful of this government. And the Constitution is to do what? This Constitution is going to be introduced to ensure these principles are being followed. So when we talk about republicanism, so what do we mean? Republicanism and Protestantism. Faith, what do you understand by those two principles? Terms? What is republicanism? To who? Jeff?
Country without a king, and Protestantism means a country without a pope.
Republicanism is a country without a king, and Protestantism is a country without a pope. So you are contrasting with the previous dispensation where they had the two. Okay, anyone else? Kodo, you are smiling.
That definition is interesting. Yeah, so I think in line with that, a republic is a sovereign state where it's independent of control from others, and again, it respects the individual's rights, for example, what God created equal in that sense. So it deals with the state, and then Protestantism is giving people, talking about the freedom of people to worship. So the way you see Protestants was resisting that powerful oppression and control. So it's about some level of freedom from civil civil oppression and religious oppression.
Okay. So from that quote, you read it, it's a repeat and enlarge. And when we talk about civil liberty and religious liberty, what God has said. But also, I will agree with what Chef has said. Republicanism, this is where people it's it's the people that are going to choose their representative. Yeah, we'll talk about, maybe for me, I'll connect it to democracy, republicanism, and Protestantism. Both of them, those principles are tied to democratic government. Democratic government. So if this is the principles we see in the new world, now when you come to the old world, you can now understand what Chef was talking about. So in the new world, in the old world, these principles were not in the existence, because what we have is the monarchy system that was ruling here. So I'll say this, the mode of government here is the monarchical system, where the power is centered on the king. So back to the American history, we have the founders of this new government. They're going to look at the world, the old world, and they don't want to establish a government based on the principles on the old world, and more especially the aspect of the king, because they understand what the king did to them in the 1260. So they want a government which is free from this dictatorship or the king. And what are they going to do? For them to, they needed to come with a mechanism that will protect these two principles or will ensure democracy works. And I want us to look at few of those mechanisms that the founders came with to ensure democracy works. (1798). So before 1798, we mark prophetically the nation of USA rising, but we can see from before 1798 USA. That is the history of the founders. So one of the things that the founders will come with that is going to ensure democracy works, or to keep the king away, or the rise of the king, is one of it is the Constitution. They are going to draft the Constitution, and in the Constitution, how is the Constitution going to guard democracy? So I want us also to look at that, on how the Constitution is going to guard democracy. So who has thoughts? How do you think the Constitution? So the Constitution was put in place 1789, the time period of the 1260. So how did this document serve as a mechanism that is going to ensure democracy works in United States? Joseph.
So one of the things the Constitution does is it spells rights. So it gives people individual rights, so that it gives when these rights were not initially say codified in the monarch in the previous system without it, you have those rights clearly spelled out as entitlements. Two, it also introduces institutions and separates powers between various institutions, so that you do not have a tyranny within this new model, and how those powers of those institutions are actually supposed to be exercised. in a way, um, it gives force to the two concepts of republicanism and Protestantism in a, I would say, in a new sense.
So we can talk about separation of powers. Which is, what powers are we talking about?
We could talk about executive and legislative and judicial power.
So these three branches of the government served as checks and balances on one another. To ensure that there is no rise of the king. Anything else? So, so do we think the constitution is a strong institution that we can trust to keep democracy going? Because I mean, in the world we can give examples where we have the constitution is there, but democracy fails anyway. So do we think constitution served as a strong institution to ensure democracy? Prior, do you think it did? You are not there. Do you think the constitution, we've said one of the mechanisms that the founders will come up with is the constitution to ensure that there is no rise of the king, yeah? And we've said in the constitution, there is separation of powers. The executive, the legislature, and judiciary serves as checks and balances on one another to ensure democracy works in that government or state. So, and my question is, do you think the constitution was enough to ensure that democracy survives? Why? So you are saying it's possible for a nation or democracy to fall with the constitution in place. And the reason is, one of the thing is, the readers can come in who can bypass what the constitution says. Yeah, that's one, which I agree. Anything else? So we have the loopholes in the constitution. So one of the things tumesema, the readers can come to power and bypass that constitution, or doesn't follow that institution or constitution anyway. So democracy is under attack. Yes, Joe?
The constitution is also subject to interpretation.
Mhm.
And well, one of the powers that, like the judiciary, they interpret the constitution, and you know that the people who are in that judiciary are appointed by someone who is in the executive. So there's a lot, I'll just say it's subject to interpretation.
Yeah, so another thing, point number 2, we can talk about the constitution being an open document. And it being an open document, people can interpret using their own ideas on what they understand, what the constitution says. And that becomes a danger of democracy. Anything else? Code?
In the two lines, there is this aspect where the constitution is not progressive. So people learn and we increase in knowledge. So if we treat it as a conservative document, then it can impede democracy. So that you use democracy is the ideal that we are moving towards. Yeah.
So Kodo is saying that also the issue about let me summarize it. The issue, can I see it? Most recently, we have seen the issue about originarism and libertarianism. So the constitution, some of the people, or we know the Supreme Court are the ones who is going to interpret the constitution. So if we have judges that follow the constitution keenly using the same words written in the constitution, can be followed keenly using those words to undermine democracy or the progressiveness of progressiveness of things. So that is point number 3. Anything else? The spirit of the law. The other one we said is what? I've written the open document that is subjected to interpretation. Also, I've written the last one. The third one we said? Yeah. So the Constitution cannot serve as a strong institution to keep democracy alive. So another thing that the founders put in place to guard democracy is the electoral college. The electoral college. Esther, you understand what the electoral college is? So I want us to understand, or I want us to walk through. Yes, Nick. Mm-hmm. The items is the okay.
Whether they are weaknesses or they are strengths. The thing is, whether the constitution, if it is an open document, is a weakness, and therefore maybe strength would be the opposite of that. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and whether we should blame the constitution or there's something else that we should be blaming.
Okay, we answer it. You've noted down? Anything else? Anyone who has question on the Constitution? I will read it for you. Point number 2 is words can be followed keenly, which can undermine the spirit of the law. So another thing I was saying is electoral college. So electoral college was put in place, that is before the constitution was put in place. So we said the constitution was drafted 1789. And while the electoral college was put in place in 1787 before the constitution. So, and the electoral college, Esther, you said you are aware of the electoral college. How does the electoral college work? Maybe a summary of few words. Words are not coming out. Mwangi, a few words on how electoral college works. You don't know how it works? All words have escaped. And anyone who wants to painter? In your own words, don't read what Google says. Yes, Joy?
So the electoral college, there's usually electors
Mhm.
who are selected in every state, the number of which is the same as the number of House of Representatives, I think, in Congress. So after the election is done, it is the popular votes, the electors now go vote for the president. So they vote, and then the majority, the one now the person who gets the majority of the electors' votes will win. And that is the aspect of so there are some states which usually the person who's won the popular votes in that state, the electors will decide to give all the votes to that person. But there are a few states where the electors vote for whoever they want.
So there is, so Joy is talking about how the electoral college came in, where there is popular vote, where people vote, then there is the election of the electors who are going to vote. And these electors are, they are going to be chosen in correspondent with the number of the House of Representatives. So we have the pledged electors and we have unpledged electors. So the unpledged electors are those who can decide who to choose as the president. That's what you said, yeah, in summary. So how did this electoral college become a mechanism to protect democracy? The president, electoral college. Yeah, I think primarily, yes. Yeah, so how is this electoral college served as a mechanism to protect the democracy? So remember, these founders, they are coming from the old world where the king was the one that was controlling the people, and they don't want that to happen. So these founders, like electoral college, like the constitution, we can also find also the loopholes of the electoral college. We are not saying it's a perfect document or a perfect ideology, but this is the mind. This was the mind of the founders, that they cannot trust fully the people to be able to choose a person, or a person who is who will represent the interest of the people. And now, to prevent some dictators to come to power, now they had to come with electors. So these electors they were not to have any favor of this president. So them, they were to act faithfully, to regard democracy. So I think that's how they came with electoral college. So electoral college became a gatekeeper of democracy. of democracy. So is there, like the constitution, is there a weakness of electoral college that we can identify?
Question. If we look at the weaknesses, well, I've not understood how the electoral college safeguards democracy.
Okay, so this is the mind of the founders. So how they saw, like, people, we can have people like maybe a populist person, and can give their ideologies to the people, and people can choose that person. So them, they did not fully trust the people to have the ability to be able to look at the features of this president and see this can be a dictator. There is maybe a way you can identify a dictator from the beginning. I refer you to this book, How Democracy Dies. So the author gives the description of how a dictator, how you can spot a dictator from the word beginning. So the founders did not trust the people to have that ability to identify maybe a dictator. So how they came with this, or they thought like this can be able to regard democracy, is in case this person passes through the people, wins the popular vote, akifika to the electoral college, these people, since they are not connected to the person that has been chosen, can be able to prevent such people coming to the power. Those were thoughts.
Well, I understand that that was their reasoning, but maybe if I can ask, why did they think that, okay, maybe this person is a populist? Why did they? Because these electors are people, like the other people who are voting, and they don't have to be. It's not a guarantee that they will be objective. You know, that they are thinking clearly. They may be influenced the same way the other people are being influenced. I'm agree. These people are usually special. They're just people like the others.
No, I think that's one of the loophole of electoral college. They thought like, okay, these electors would be faithful, have the ability to spot the dictator. But we can see, we looking at back at the electoral college, dictators can come to power with also pass through the electoral college. A good example is Trump. I want to move to another mechanism, unless there is a question. So I will do the summary after I've done with the third one. So the third one, with time, so when you look at these two, they are found in the this electoral college is found in the constitution. So for this, in one word, I'll say it is a formal institution. So if you read the Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, it will talk about electoral college, which I think because of time I won't read it. So if you find time, you can read that one. It is Article 2. Article 2, Section 2. Section 2 or Section 1? Let me find it. Section 1 of Constitution speaks more about the electoral college. So if you find time, you can go through that one. So I just want to talk about the third one. Political parties. So when we talk about political parties, you can't find the political parties in the Constitution. So how did the political parties then become the guard of democracy? or the gatekeeper of democracy. So remember in here about electoral college, we talked about the electors, the people that are being chosen to go and choose or vote for the president. So with time, when we came to introduction of political parties, when America was beginning, did we have any political parties? Who knows the history? Did we? Chef, did we have political parties? The beginning of United States. You can talk about the first president, George Washington, yeah. No, so it is up to 19th century, 1800s. So by the time you read 19th century, there is introduction of political parties, the major political parties in USA. So how did this political party now become the guard of democracy? So we talked about the electors, the people that were being chosen to go and vote for the election. So with time, with political parties, now these people become the electors were coming from the people who were loyal to a certain party. So these electors became divided to the parties, or they chose the parties. And I think that's how the political parties with time is going to come a gatekeeper. So I want to expound more about the gatekeeping of the parties. So now we have these electors who are deciding, or they have a stand on which political party they are going to do what? To support. Now when it comes to democracy, the two parties that we have in the history of America mostly is Democratic, Republican, and we have the Libertarian, but the major political parties that we have is Republican and Democratic. Sindio Nick? Sindio nini? Hmm? I thought you said yes. Okay, the two political parties. Oh. So Nikki, what I said, the major political parties that we have in the United States is the Republicans and Democratic. And both Republican and Democrat, I want us to see how those two parties became the gatekeepers of democracy, Republicans and Democratic. Remember, if we go back to here, we said Elder Tess is so close to this, or we have this messenger who is close to this waymark, in that standing here can be able to predict or explain number 3, or the future. So back to our first past classes, if you go through around 3 classes, Elder Tess will take time to explain the issue about the two political parties in United States. So one subject we talked about their ethos, equality and freedom, and the other angle is the foreign policy and domestic policy. But I want to talk about the other one. So we understood that we have the left wing and the right wing. And from those studies, we said it's not enough to look at the left wing versus the right wing. Even the right wing, we have fractions within the right wing. The far left and the center left. Also the same, we have the fractions within this wing. So this is the right wing. This is the left wing. We have the center right and the far right. So in those studies, if we remember well, Kelvin, do you remember these studies? Are you familiar with these studies? Yes. Oh, you are not there. And you've not come across those studies, yeah? Maybe discussion. All right, I will excuse you in a minute. So in those classes, if I remember well, maybe someone can correct me, the focus, Elder Tess will say the focus was this, the danger, or when we want to understand the Sunday law, the center will be, the focus of the center will be the right wing. I remember Elder Tess saying that when we talk about the Sunday law movement, is coming from the far right, yeah? The far left is not our problem. Remember I said, when it comes to the rise of dictators, they can come from both sides. You have the dictators from the far left or the left, dictators from the right wing. Example of the dictators from the far left, we can talk about the history of Russian Revolution. Example, which is Lenin. Remember Lenin, Ken? Goes to the history of World War II with Russian Revolution, yeah? So Lenin was a dictator from the far left. Or yeah, I'll say the far left. Also, you can give examples where you find a dictator from the far left. Also, dictators from the far right, there are many. We have Hitler. We have gone through the studies of Hitler. So you can mark Hitler, you can mark Mzurin, yeah, and many others. Who? Oh? No, I didn't get you. Okay, yeah, Stalin, all of that. So what is the difference between these dictators from the left and dictators from the right? So one of the things I will say why I brought all this concept of Eldates is to explain that Eldates pointed onto us that democracy, when it comes to democracy or rise of dictator, is going to fall from within. I will explain that. So democracy, we expect the fall of democracy or the backslide of democracy from within. For me, that's the major thing I got from the studies of Vespers or from Eldates, that democracy, we don't expect the democracy falls from without. Democracy is going to fall from within. And when you look at the rise of the rise of authoritarian from the far right, they don't rise the same way you can look at from the far left. They rise from the within. How do they rise from within? We'll take an example, maybe. Example of Hitler, for example. I think the Sunday Road speakers and most of us in our discussion, we have covered the history of Hitler and how Hitler is going to come to power. It's not the same way as Lenin. Example here, we said Lenin. Lenin, we said, is going to recognize that this government is not serving us well. So what will I do? I will gather the people, revolution. We take off the government. So he's going to overthrow the government. So he denounces the government from the beginning as a government that does not serve the people. So if this government is not serving the people, how will we remove this government? It's through a revolution, which is an open thing. But when it comes to Hitler, remember the story in 1921, tried to overthrow the government by a coup failed. Now he tried again, now from within, and it was a successful. So there is a key difference between the two dictators, how they came to power. And remember, our focus is this one: democracy falls from within. Before I continue, any questions or comments? I know history, Judy. Yeah, inaleta usingizi, si ndio? Inaleta usingizi, but we have to learn some histories. Is there any questions or comments regards on so far where we have left, where we have discussed? Any? No questions, no comments. So let's talk about this structure yenye tuko nayo hapa. So remember, this is the problem. Dictators can come from here. This is also the problem. Dictators comes from here. One of the things that you can establish is when you look at center left, some examples of the center left. Center left. Faith. Some of the examples that you can think of the center left. We've forgotten the studies. Isabella, some examples. Yeah, we can give at least one examples. Isabella? Job? Jeff? Yeah. Huh? Yeah, some figures that all symbols, all examples of the people. Yeah, we can give example Clinton, the likes of Obama, Biden goes to the center left. The center right, code. Let me give a clue. We can give the 2021. 2021, Trump tried to overthrow the government by a coup, but we have Republicans that who stood against Trump. Yeah, few examples that we can think. Do you watch Frontline documentaries? They are part of the documents that we worthy watching. Yeah, Reese Cheney, Nikki Haley, yeah, all of that. So those are the rights of the center. Nikki who, whatever, those one. So I want to argue that this section here becomes the establishment which is going to make sure that the authoritarians from these both sides is not going to rise to power. So this, I will call it the establishment. You remember 2016, Trump talking about the establishment. This is the thing that he was talking about, establishment. So when it comes to dictator, if the midnight cry could have pointed us that the rise of a dictator is coming from the far right, this becomes the primarily people that are going to make sure that dictator does not rise to power. If now the midnight cry pointed us to the far right, the people who are responsible to regard democracy or to guard democracy is the center right. Why is it so? Because remember, we have processes of someone to become a president. First, you need to pass through primaries. If you from primaries you go, for you, yeah, to become a candidate for presidential candidate. So you have primaries. Before even primaries, you have invisible primaries, which I don't want to discuss about. But you have primaries, which I believe maybe you have heard about it. And from primaries, you become? So you go to the party. The party has to select you. Is that what you are saying? Or not sure?
And primaries happen within the parties, right? So the parties are going to choose Kamala Harris instead of who else is that? I don't know. And then now she goes to campaign against Trump, who was chosen by his party as the lead candidate.
So the primary is the party. Yes. Anyone else? I thought I had a different thoughts though. Yes, Gladys. What is the primaries? Anyway, so we can look at in the internet and clarify that. For me, I thought like we have primaries, then you come to the parties, parties. So, and this is the final. Now, from the party now here, you are a candidate that is going to stand for presidential election. Now, since we were pointed to the right wing, where the danger is, the far right, I'll say that primarily the people who were responsible to make sure that there is no rise of a dictator coming to power were the center right, which are Republicans. So I'll say when it comes to the Sunday law, where we see Trump won the election, so this Sunday law I'm talking about, where Trump won the election, is November. So for Trump to come to November 5, the party failed here at this waymark here. And that's why I marked this waymark as the fall of democracy. I didn't mark it November when Trump is winning the election. So this waymark is really about who is responsible for guarding democracy. So this becomes the Republican Party in our time, the center right. And them, they failed. That's why we see the activities that are happening today and how Trump is behaving with the world and also internally, is because of the failure of center right. So I think my time is up. I just give 1 minute to summarize what we are looking at and we finish. So if there is any questions, so next time I'll continue from there. So if there is any question, we can answer it Q&A. So we were looking at the backslide of democracy. So we said that democracy is the center, or is a subject of the Sunday law waymark. So we've gone through the beginning of the rise of USA and the mechanism that were put in place to guard this democracy. And we have seen how those institutions have or did failed for the purpose that were put in place. For instance, we talked about constitution, electoral college, and finally the parties. And all of those structures, informal and formal, they failed. And that's why we see democracy under attack in this dispensation of Sunday law to COP. So I think that is it. My time is up. Sorry for going over time. Let's pray. Dear God, thank you for the history. We know that prophecy is historical events. As you have given us the eyesight so that we can be able to correctly identify the events that are so prophetic. Continue guiding us. We know that there are many events that are happening. Give us the ability to be able to correctly identify these events which are so sacred unto us. Thank you for this far that you have read us. As we break for lunch, we ask that you press the food that we are going to take. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.